Welcome study lovers, I am Sufian Ahmed and thank you so much for your love and support in my previous video that is on the life process part 1, and today I'm going to discuss about the part 2. For that I'm going to discuss about this, that and this. All right, now coming to the respirations. What does respiration means? The breakdown of glucose to release energy in the body is known as respirations. So to understand this respiration clearly, first of all, let's go to the board. So now let us try to understand what actually happens in the respirations. Suppose this is a small intestine, okay, small intestine. So in the small intestine, what happens? The simplified nutrients like amino acid, glucose, protein, then fats. Okay, these are the simplified nutrients which are being absorbed from the small intestine, and with the help of blood, okay, with the help of blood, those simplified nutrients are traveling to the cell. Okay, suppose this is a cell. So after going to the cell, this simplified nutrients, okay, the cell directly cannot absorb those simplified nutrients and trap the energy from those nutrients. Okay, so to trap the energy in the respiration, we are talking about energy. Okay, so to trap the energy from those simplified nutrients, the cell needs an oxygen. The cell needs an oxygen to trap the energy from those simplified nutrients. Okay, so this is what we say respiration. This is the definition. This is the explanation of the definition of respirations. Clear? Types of respirations. All right, there are two types of respirations. One is known as aerobic respiration, another one is known as anaerobic respirations. Now, what does aerobic respiration means? The respiration which occurs in presence of oxygen is known as aerobic respirations, and the respiration which occurs in absence of oxygen is known as anaerobic respiration, like yeast. Okay, and aerobic respirations occurs where? In the humans, in the animals. Coming to the respiration in animals, okay, we know that there are two types of animals for the respirations. First one is known as terrestrial animals, another one is aquatic. In terrestrial animals, what happens? The amount of oxygen is quite available in the atmosphere. Why? Just because we know that 21% of oxygen is present in the atmosphere. That is why for the respirations by the animals which are residing in terrestrials is quite easier for them, but the animals which are residing in aquatic, they have a bit different types of respiration. Why? Just because in the water they need to use the oxygen which is dissolved in water, and just because of that they need to respire faster, and the oxygen which dissolve in the water is a bit less compared to the oxygen which is present in terrestrials. Now coming to the breathing, what happens in the breathing? We inhale air which is rich in oxygen, and we exhale air which is rich in carbon dioxide. So breathing, difference between breathing and respirations. Okay, breathing is completely a physical process. Okay, breathing is completely a physical process. Why? Just because while we do breathing, at that time what happens? The muscles, diaphragm and the chest are involved over there. But during respirations, what happens? It totally happening in the cell. Okay, respiration is happening in the cell. That is why I said that breathing is a physical process and respiration is a chemical process. Coming to the human respiratory systems, what happens is at the top of it pharynx, then larynx, then come trachea. Now the things which produce sound is known as what? Which one among here produces sound? This is larynx. Okay, larynx produces sound. Now this is trachea. Now trachea, why it is C-shaped form? This is also known as rings of cartilage. Okay, this is known as rings of cartilage. Now why trachea is in C-shaped form? To prevent collapse. That is why the trachea is in the C-shaped form. That is why it is built up of rings of cartilage. Okay, next after that just have a look there. This part is known as bronchi. Then after that, bronchi is moreover divided into bronchioles. Okay, then after that, these bronchioles are attached with alveoli. Just have a look here, alveoli. Now what happened in the alveoli? If I draw the diagrammatic representations of alveoli, okay, so what happened in the alveoli? Through this trachea, the oxygens are being taken up, isn't it? And after that, it is being distributed with both the bronchioles, and after that it comes with the bronchi, and then it comes up there in the alveoli. So in the alveoli, whenever these oxygens come, there are some blood vessels are there, isn't it? Those blood vessels, they take the oxygens. Now the blood vessels cannot take the oxygen, but inside the blood vessels was exist, there is a blood, and in the blood, what is there? Hemoglobin. Hemoglobin, the special character of hemoglobin is to trap the oxygen from this alveoli, and it's being taken up by the hemoglobin present in the blood vessels. Okay, so with the blood vessels, hemoglobin is present in the blood, so this oxygen is being trapped by the hemoglobin, and it is being carried and is being distributed or being taken to the cell. Okay, whenever this oxygens come inside the cell, this hemoglobin is a respiratory pigment. Okay, respiratory, respiratory pigment. So whenever this oxygens come nearby the cell, then what happen? The energy is being taken up from those nutrients with the help of these oxygens. Next, the byproduct which comes out, this is known as carbon dioxide from that cell. With the help of diffusion process, diffusion, and with the help of diffusion process, this carbon dioxide goes again to the alveoli. Just have a look that whenever this oxygen is being trapped by the blood vessels, and with the blood vessels along with the hemoglobin, this oxygen is coming to the cell, isn't it? See here, to take the oxygen, carrier is required, but whenever this carbon dioxide as a byproduct comes out, here the carrier doesn't require, because this carbon dioxide is easily mixed up, and with the help of diffusion process is again goes to the alveoli. Now just have a look on the book diagram. It is quite beautifully is being provided. From this alveoli, with the help of blood vessels, the oxygen is being trapped. Okay, the blood vessels, inside the blood vessels there exists blood, hemoglobin. Then hemoglobin is known as respiratory pigment. All right, respiratory pigment. So after that, it is being taken to the cell. Inside the cell, what exists? C6H12O6. Okay, in the cell, but cell cannot directly absorb that. It requires an oxygen. Whenever oxygen will mix up with this, it will gives us what? Carbon dioxide plus water plus energy. Okay, that energy is stored in our body in the form of ATP. I'm going to discuss this ATP. So just have a look what was the process. First of all, with the help of alveoli, oxygen comes, and from that oxygen is being taken with the blood vessels, and inside the blood vessels there exists hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is known as respiratory pigment. All right, so whenever this oxygen comes to the cell directly cannot absorb that nutrient, so it requires an oxygen. Whenever the oxygen comes, it will combine and it will trap energy. How it will trap energy from that nutrients? Just have a look. What are the results is being provided to us? Carbon dioxide, water, and energy. That energy is stored in the form of ATP in our body. That is known as adenosine triphosphate. That is why ATP is known as the energy currency of our body. ATP means adenosine triphosphate. ADENOSINE, adenosine triphosphate. PHOSPHAT, adenosine triphosphate. So this is the energy currency of our body. So inside our body, what happens? There exists adenosine PP. This is the inbuilt energy in our body. Okay, these are the inbuilt energy in our body. So in our body there exists another P, but it is roaming around. Whenever the energy will come in our body, at that time it will makes a bond up there and it will form what? ATP. Earlier it was what? Earlier it was ADP. Okay, adenosine diphosphate, because here 2 phosphate was there. Okay, so whenever the 1P will make a bond with them, it will become 3 phosphate. That is why here come adenosine triphosphate. How it become? With the help of energy. Earlier it was ADP, adenosine diphosphate. Whenever it will get an energy, it will become adenosine triphosphate. And again, to break that energy, it requires 30.5 kilojoule amount of energy to break that ATP to form ADP again. Now we need to understand over here that 1 kilojoule, okay, 1 mole is equal to 30 kilojoule. And what does 1 mole means? 1 mole means 6.022 into 10 to the power 23, 6.022 into 10 to the power 23 ATP molecule. Now let me give a more clear-cut view of the chemical reactions of ATP. What happens whenever the food exists nearby the cell, say 6H12O6, it requires an oxygen to trap the energy from that. Okay, so what are the results give us? From here it will give byproduct as a carbon dioxide, and it will release H2O. Along with that it will gives us energy. Okay, so that energy will be stored in the mitochondria of the cell. Mitochondria. Okay, that is why mitochondria is known as the powerhouse of the cell. Powerhouse of cell. That energy will stored as a ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Clear? So this is the chemical reaction of the ATP. And how it will form, as I have discussed before, that APP is the inbuilt energy in our body. Okay, so another phosphorus exists in our body, but whenever we will get an energy, at that time it will form a bond and it will become ATP. Earlier it was what? Earlier it was ADP, adenosine diphosphate. After getting the energy, it becomes ATP. Now coming to the diagrammatic representations of the food distributed to the different kinds of organisms like aerobic, anaerobic, and in absence of oxygens, what happen? How it provide energy? Try to understand these diagrammatic representations. This is known as glucose, known as C6H12O6. So this glucose, whenever it goes inside the cell, immediately it's breakdown. Okay, so inside the cell, whenever it goes, it will go to the cytoplasm, cytoplasm cytoplasm. So this glucose, whenever it will go inside the cell, that is in the cytoplasm, it will immediately be broken down. So that glucose, whenever it breaks, is known as pyruvate. That is from 6 carbon to 3 carbon, it broken down, so that is known as pyruvate. Okay, now after immediately broken down this glucose, it will release some amount of energy, energy, energy. Okay, immediately it will release some amount of energy. Now let us understand this one steps. Absence of oxygen, what happen? Presence of oxygen, what kind of energy it gives us? And whenever the oxygen amount is less, what kind of energy it produces? So first of all, let us try to understand in the presence of oxygen. Presence of oxygen, what happen? Whenever this glucose will come inside the cell in the cytoplasm, it will break down immediately and it will release some amount of energy. After that, the mitochondria will take it from the cytoplasm, that food. And in case of human beings, I'm talking about, so we need oxygen. So in the presence of oxygen, what happen? It gives us, this is wrong diagram. In the presence of oxygen, it gives us carbon dioxide, water, and then energy. It gives us carbon dioxide, water, and energy. Okay, that energy I explained, what is that? ATP. And that energy, it will give us as 38 ATP. Okay, very high amount of energy we'll get in presence of oxygens. But what happen in absence of oxygen, such as yeast, what happen, it will give ethanol, carbon dioxide and energy. That energy will be quite less in comparison to that, I think 2 ATP amount of energy it will produce in absence of oxygens. But what happen in the lack of oxygen, like whenever we do exercise or at the time of doing gyms, our body required lots of oxygen, but we cannot provide sometimes, and due to that what happen, we get cramps in our muscle. Okay, cramp मिल जाता हमको, CRAMP, cramp, that means pain used to start in our muscles, and just because of that it produce here lactic acid. Okay, and just because of lactic acid we get cramps in our muscles and it will release some amount of energy. So this is the explanation of this dichromatic representations, nothing more than that over there. Okay, coming to the respiration in plants, plant does not require the respirations how we do. Actually we need more energy, that is why we do the respirations faster than them. And if I talk about how do the plant respire, okay, plant also do the respiration like we do, but the rate of respirations is faster in us. Just if I look, the plants also do the respirations like as we take oxygen and we release carbon dioxide, it also do during, I'm talking about, this is about day and this is about night. Okay, it will take what, oxygen, and it will release carbon dioxide from there. But at daytime what happens, just because of sunlight it do photosynthesis. Okay, just because of photosynthesis the rate of respiration is quite negligible, or you can say invisible. So just because of photosynthesis, what happen, photosynthesis, this is happening in respirations. Okay, the process oxygen and carbon dioxide, but during the photosynthesis what happen, it is taking carbon dioxide and releasing what, oxygen. At night time what happen, the process remains same, because during that time light is not there, and just because of that it cannot do the photosynthesis, and just because of that what happen, whenever we go nearby the plant during the night time we are lacking in oxygens. So this is the process of respiration in plants. All right.